Okay, now that we have a new year, can the Reaper lay off the celebrity deaths? Please? Before we get into the main event, let me start by saying, welcome to 2017, and I figured I'd start this new year with trying something that's a little different from what I usually do. A little case study of sorts. And what better place to start than with the franchise that I've repeatedly established is my favorite. So, Megaman. A simple series about jumping and shooting, right? Well, that's how it started. Over the years, several generations have given more depth to the story. And as gaming has progressed, Capcom has felt obligated to give more focus to the story of the classic series as well. It's been a fairly simple formula. Wily uses 8 robot masters and a bid to invoke a dead meme, Megaman kicks their shiny metal asses and absorbs their powers, and ultimately leaves Wily defeated and begging for forgiveness. You'd think our blue Boy Scout would get tired of this routine. Well, you wouldn't be wrong. And even after arresting the madman at the end of Mega Man 6, Wily still didn't learn his lesson. Which leads to a rather intense moment at the end of Mega Man 7.
This wouldn't have anything to do with 46.3, would it?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with 46.3, calm down. Anyways, after Mega Man tears down Wily's machine and endures arguably the most annoying final battle in the history of the classic series, we find ourselves in a familiar position. Until this happens. Suddenly, Wily finds himself staring down the business end of the Mega Buster, frantically claiming that Mega Man has no right to shoot him because, well, robots can't hurt humans, right? Now, in the Japanese version, Mega Man backs down, but in the localized version, Mega Man persists, claiming with all the speed of a munchlax that he's more than a robot. This situation brings about an interesting question. Could Mega Man have pulled the trigger? In order to come to a proper conclusion, we need to dive into a central theme of science fiction. The 3 Laws of Robotics. So, pull up a chair, grab a pen and paper if you wish, and let good old QG-sensei lay it down for you. So, first things first. Just what are the 3 Laws of Robotics? Well, the 3 Laws are a set of rules devised by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov to provide a unifying theme to his robot-related short stories. They are as follows, and I quote. 1. A robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. 2. A robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. 3. A robot must protect its own existence, as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. The laws were first introduced in Asimov's 1942 short story Runaround, and has been used in many stories about robots since. In these stories, the 3 laws are meant to be a safety measure to prevent, well, a robot apocalypse that could be triggered by something as simple as saying, "what?" Though the robots in said stories end up acting in unusual ways, due to how the robots apply the 3 laws. And they haven't just been applied to Asimov stories. They've found their way into plenty of other works of science fiction as well. They've also been subjected to many proposed modifications. For example, in 1947's Little Lost Robot, a brand of robot is programmed with a modification of the first law that states, "A robot may not harm a human being." Granted, it would be difficult, if not impossible and impractical, to program these laws into our robots with today's technology, let alone the ethical implications. But that's not what we're trying to figure out here. So, what does all this have to do with Mega Man? Okay, now that we've explained what the 3 laws are, let's see where the 3 laws apply to the Mega Man mythos. More specifically, the first law. You know, don't hurt humans. Believe it or not, the first reference to the first law that the series makes is in the first Mega Man X. That's 3 shots right there if you're doing a drinking game. In the intro scene, we get a look at what Dr. Kane is seeing as he's reactivating X after his 100-year sleep. Among these diagnostics is a warning, describing X's unique ability and how Dr. Light fears what would happen if X were to break the first law. As it so happens, while X doesn't break the first law himself, we see plenty of what would happen if the Maverick outbreaks are any indication. And now we find ourselves back at Mega Man 7. When Wily tries to talk Mega Man out of delivering verdict by plasma, he's not pulling that statement out of his ass. He's trying to invoke the first law, fairly certain that Megaman was programmed with the three laws. So, is Megaman's attempt at being judge, jury, and executioner proof that Dr. Light forgot that step? Or is there something more to all this? Now, we've already explained that the first law forbids a robot from harming a human being. But what if there's a human being that's so dangerous that leaving him alive would cause more humans to come to harm? Sounds like a catch-22 right there, doesn't it? Well, that's why there's an exception to the first law. And for that, we return to our good friend Asimov. You see, in his novel, Robots and Empire, he introduces a concept called the Zeroth Law, so named as to supersede the first law. As later shown in the novels Foundation and Earth and Prelude to Foundation, the Zeroth Law reads as follows. A robot may not harm humanity, or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm. So what does this mean exactly? Even Asimov himself recognized how difficult this law would pose in practice. After all, an individual human is a concrete being, while humanity as a whole is an abstraction. Essentially, the Zeroth Law applies to society as the first law applies to the individual. Near the climax of Asimov's The Caves of Steel, one of the characters determines that the first law must be applied unless the robot is clever enough to comprehend that ultimately harming one or even a few humans would benefit humanity as a whole. In other words, if a robot confronts a human whose actions endanger the human race, then that human is essentially fair game. So, does the Zeroth Law apply to the Megaman universe? So, we know that the Zeroth Law exists for the good of society, but does it exist in the world of Megaman? Well, there are a couple instances. The first of which takes us outside the games and into the Archie comics, specifically the story arc entitled Spiritus Ex Machina. In this story arc, a robotics convention is attacked by an anti-robotics terrorist group, and Megaman and his allies are unable to fight back due to their three laws safe programming. That is, until the terrorists put the lives of the human hostages at risk. Now that's all well and good. However, I'm sure some of you might not be satisfied with this application, mainly due to the fact that these events don't come straight from the games. Well, I thought of that too, so I have an example that's actually used in the games. For that, we turn to the Mega Man Zero series, where the Zeroth Law is applied on both sides. In Zero 3, Copy X, who has been rebuilt and manipulated by Dr. Vile, threatens Seal and her resistance after she withholds her energy solution from him, claiming that she is a threat to the peace of Neo Arcadia and being unwilling to spare her despite her status as a human. Of course, that's not the only instance. The second comes with a conflict between Zero and Dr. Vile himself. Now this is an interesting case, since Zero has been following the three laws willingly and not out of any programming. However, he still considers Dr. Vile to be another maverick that needs to be hunted. This comes to a head with Vile's defeat at the hands of Zero in the climax of the series. Now, considering what Vile has done, including starting a war that wiped out nearly half of all life, ruling Neo Arcadia as a tyrannical demagogue, and trying to drop a satellite on top of the survivors, I'd say that Zero had every reason to rip the bastard apart. But was there enough of a case against Wily? So we've covered the three laws and their application to Megaman. We've covered the Zeroth Law and its application to Megaman. So we return to the ending of Mega Man 7. The last remaining question here is, would killing Dr. Wily benefit humanity as a whole? Or rather, would sparing him pose a greater threat to humanity? Well, let's look at what Wily's done prior to this moment. Mega Man 1 reprogrammed Dr. Light's three laws safe robots to cause chaos. Mega Man 2 created his own robots to cause chaos. Mega Man 3 hijacked a robot meant for peacekeeping so he could cause chaos. Mega Man 4 kidnapped Dr. Cossack's daughter and blackmailed him so he could cause chaos in his name. Mega Man 5 created a clone of Proto Man to frame him for his chaos. Mega Man 6 reprogrammed the competitors in a fighting tournament to cause chaos. Mega Man 7 had robots stored away to activate and use the chaos to cover his escape from prison. And that's not even counting what he did since, let alone the original purpose of Zero as well as the Maverick virus. And yes, I'm well aware as to why Wily started this rap sheet, because he was jealous of Dr. Light's success and accolades, but having a reason is not the same as having an excuse. So, all things considered, I can confidently conclude that under the Zeroth Law, Mega Man could have, in fact, done away with Wily. Of course, then we'd have needed a new main villain, but Capcom's proven that they're more than capable of delivering on that front. I'm the Quarter Guy, and if you'd like my opinion as to why Mega Man lost his chance to fire, I'd blame it on a combination of bad luck, what with the ceiling coming down and Base saving the Doctor's ass, and the heroic equivalent of Bond villain stupidity. If you want to take down a villain, don't talk! Just shoot! Man, it's been cold lately. It sure would be nice to visit a place like Alola. Just thinking about it makes me feel all warm and cozy inside. Of course, Generation 7 has been kind to us in more ways than just the tropical location. I think you all know exactly what I'm talking about here. Next time, Top 10 Favorite Alola Pokemon. It's game time! Thanks for watching! I'll admit this is kind of uncharted territory for me, so if you'd like to see more of these among my regular content, let me know. As always, if you enjoyed, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. There's info on my other social media, including Twitch, where I support Extra Life. If you're watching this on vid.me, you can also support me with upvotes and tips, and if you have money to spare and want to support me and get some neat perks, there's a link to my Patreon. And most importantly, spread the word. Word of mouth travels fast, you know. Shoutouts to my proofreaders this month, Silver, Azelf101, and Raven King Sage. Also, those avatar images? Yeah, Yuki Goomba made those, so thanks to her as well. Thanks again, and until next time, this is the Quarter Guy, signing off. So what does all this have to do with Megaman? Let's take a look at more clues.
Where the heck is it? I put it here somewhere in this chat. Or notice I'll cut all this out.